we need to beef up the International Criminal Court, because we saw a successful prosecution of war criminals. But pretty much the only place that's really happened is with Serbians from 25 years ago. And so it basically, it takes like, a quarter of a lifetime to get to a point of justice.
Yes, and it also takes a deliberate effort by players that have leverage to unplug hotspots from geopolitical nightmare.
Yeah.
Bosnia, Croatia, Slovenia, Serbia, Montenegro, Macedonia, even Kosovo have nothing to worry about, at least for the time being. We deserve this type of architecture. I mean, the amount of bloodshed by Qaddafi, by Assad, or by any despot, Saddam, we deserve something much more elaborate than the ICTY of Yugoslavia. We didn't get that. There's one example only, a very small one. It's the Special Tribunal for Lebanon, which indicted one person, one Hezbollah operative who's named. The Lebanese state will never be able to deliver that name, deliver that individual to The Hague. Add to that, in a case of what was meant to be trial in absentia, the Special Tribunal for Lebanon suspended itself and has shut down due to budgetary constraints. So even then, this one example is gone. That will definitely dampen anyone's expectation for an international investigation into the port blast, or a tribunal for the port blast, or a tribunal for Assad's crimes, or a tribunal period. So that I agree with you that yes, the ICTY perhaps didn't do enough. But the fact is, people that were in jail died, or they're in jail permanently, life sentences, and if they died either natural causes or they committed suicide. Milosevic died from, I think, if I remember correctly, a stroke. The Bosnian Croat leader, his name escapes me now, paramilitary leader, he killed himself on TV, drank cyanide, drank something.
I remember that.
And Mladic and Karadzic will never come out of jail. Why don't we have something at least at that level? More people have died here, more countries have suffered. You need international assistance in that stuff. No international assistance in telling our part of the world. Yeah, sorry, just one thing. There's no needed recommendation on countries in this part of the world on how exactly they govern themselves, or what exactly sectarianism means to them, or for that matter, what mosaic and minority rights end up looking like. That's what everyone in this part of the world has to figure out on their own. That also includes accountability, reform, anti-corruption. We have to figure that stuff out. But ending violence at the regional level, we can't do it on our own. It's impossible. Neither could the Bosnians, and neither could the Croats or the Serbs.
True. No, you're not wrong. But I would add an addendum to that, in that the Middle East has too much international assistance. And by that, I mean international interference. Too many powers are fighting out their, world chess game in the Middle East. And so the Middle East becomes the battleground. Like Syria, what region, like, what is the reason that Russia is interested in Syria? It's a part of an international chess game for Russia. Why is China like trying to get in on, like, well, we want contracts for reconstruction? It's an international game of interference, and there's too many between the US, between the EU, Russia, China, Iran, fighting out their battles with each other in Lebanon, Syria, Yemen. And it's, you're destroying countries because they know if they went to like head-on war with each other, it would be devastating for both countries. So it's like, let's just destroy this country that we don't care as much about.
Well, that's the situation that was avoided. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ronnie, please.
No, and by the way, I should apologize. Even somebody that was meant to be upstairs with me is now at the car too. So she was sitting here, and I'll introduce her. Here she
No,
is.
yeah,
All right, yeah.
the more
Come
the
on, sit down,
merrier.
sit down.
We'll
Welcome.
have a party.
She's a journalist in
Ahlan,
Lebanon.
ahlan.
She could do it. She could do a better job. Here, I'm gonna give
Sure.
one of these to her.
Yeah.
Here. Take it. See, this is the episode you get a car and an extra guest.
Hi.
Hello,
Ahlan,
Ramadan.
ahlan.
Hi.
Hello.
Ah,
Sorry for the mess.
Well, you have to give her a proper introduction.
she is Tala Ramadan. She's a journalist at
Tala.
Lorient today.
Hello.
Very cool. Very cool.
Sorry to
Welcome.
interrupt.
I
No,
like this.
no,
It's
we're
an
glad to
evolving
have
party.
you.
I like how this is working.
No electricity.
I think we should always do it from cars now.
Maybe that's the way to do
Yeah,
it.
maybe I'm
As
like
long
in
as there's
solidarity. I
gas.
go and sit in my car.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been great, actually. Yeah.
If I had a car, I'd sit. Hmm.
By the way, is it the 40-minute marker? Isn't it coming up?
Actually, I got a message. It said that they suspended the 40-minute thing. So
Oh,
as long as
good.
it doesn't
Okay.
shut off,
Yeah,
We're
I think we're
good.
good.
I'll
Okay, great.
if it shuts off, we'll know.
Okay, excellent. So, sorry, I the last part of the question, I interrupted you guys.
Sorry, Anna.
No, go ahead, please. Ronnie.
No, I mean, and I think maybe you have the added feature of somebody who may disagree. Maybe, I think that is the one key ingredient that we need. I think everything else we're capable of doing, and I agree with Khalid, other Khalid. Yeah, there's no need to keep assisting for the sake of it if that assistance doesn't get you to a better place. I completely agree. And interference for the wrong reasons you want to avoid altogether.
Yeah.
But the architecture that can neutralize war from this part of the world, I think we're in desperate need. And if those tools were available here, I wouldn't say that. But the Lebanese, and I'm going to make it a very local example, the Lebanese cannot inspect their port. The Lebanese state cannot turn away weapons-grade ammonium nitrate. The Lebanese regime is incapable of dislodging this state from a battlefield situation. So that's something that Lebanese cannot do. That's the kind of stuff that you need some international leverage, not for the wrong reasons, but for the right reasons.
Yeah, not military interference, but assistance and aid and like
just like the Americans and the Soviets did not fight each other in Austria. They agreed to leave Austria alone. Austria's constitution, people don't care about it because it's such a boring story, but it's boring for the right reasons.
Yeah,
it's called the Treaty of
Switzerland.
But Switzerland, exactly. Switzerland is self-imposed. Austria could have been a country torn apart by the Cold War. Austria could have had the same fate as Germany, could have been divided, but it wasn't. The Americans and the Soviets agreed to leave that country out of regional war. It's called the Treaty of Neutrality, and it kept Austria out of the Cold War. And Austria is that one country, if you look at a map of the Iron Wall, Austria seems to be more Iron Wall geographically than the Czech Republic. It's further east in areas, yet it was a neutral country. Finland had the same situation, guaranteed to not be part of regional war. These are European examples. The Balkans post-1995 have an international arrangement that ensures it. And I'll make it even more relevant. There's household names that we remember as kids, but we don't think of anymore. The IRA is no longer part of anyone's story. The Irish Republican Army was disarmed. Not disarmed by the Northern Irish inhabitants making that happen. It's the Good Friday Accords. That's an international agreement that ensures that this will never happen again. Democracy will. Sinn Féin is the goal. Hezbollah's Sinn Féin recreation is the goal too. Not to get rid of it, not to make it, but to make it part of your future, not holding on to the worst aspects of its past.
However, not to like, you're right, except for the fact that Brexit, there is a looming specter that we're going to have Northern Irish resistance. If you have a hard border between the rest of the UK and Northern Ireland, there was already, I think it was early 2000 or late 2018 or early 2019, there was an explosion, some terrorist attack. The Irish situation could become a situation again as a result of Brexit, because it's going to make a hard border between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland.
Those examples aside, the rare occasions that one attack, and for that matter, the one attack in Sarajevo in recent decades, those exceptions aside, the chances of it spilling out of control into chaos and uncertainty again is very slim to none.
Yeah, I don't think many people in Northern Ireland want a return. Like like you might see an event like that. Like Ronnie said, it's an exception or exceptional. But the thing is, I think that once a people have had peace and stability after seeing so much conflict and bloodshed, it's very hard to get them to go back to that, unless the political system just falls apart and doesn't allow for that stability to continue.
Yeah, and it depends on how Brexit plays out.
Right, but even with Brexit, it's like, all right, you know, it's a terrible upheaval, I guess, if you want to call it, or shift,
or a mentally
shift.
Retarded kind of.
Yeah, but you know what?
Move.
But you know what? That's, I mean, going back to what we were saying about democracy, it's an idea. It's being tested. It might be reversed one day. Who knows? But I think that people prefer the peaceful route of dealing with these problems rather than resorting to violence.
It's that neither of the countries that have experienced repercussions or have been directly involved, whether it's the UK or on the other side, the Republic of Ireland, they have no leverage anymore, and they cannot contribute in a negative way to the future of Northern Ireland. And Northern Ireland inhabitants that once supported the IRA will not support the IRA again in the way that they understood it before. They have a politics that is largely peaceful, not entirely, and I don't think there's any example of a purely peaceful form of the politics that we desire, but they're closer to there than we are. And that's Northern Ireland, and that's technically United Kingdom. So that's a very clean example. Even in the ones that were far more violent, they're figuring their way forward. And ETA in Basque, northern Spain, is gone. The Basque population is not seeking violence or supporting it anymore either. Colombia, this famed FARC guerrilla force, is on its way out gradually, but not to the detriment of, it's not something that is being violently pushed against where you're going to have a massive upswell against it. It's a politics that is fairly moderate and seems to be working.
They seem to be fatigued, and they're not being militarily eradicated, but they seem to be fatigued with conflict. And I think most populations in the world, if you give them the choice of a peaceful solution, they'll take it.